first graders. It's Miss Smith. I'm so happy to be back with you in reading today. Today we are going to be taking a deep dive into looking at some sentences. We're still going to be looking at some sentences from our books that we have read so far, our different versions of Cinderella. But today we're going to be answering some craft questions. Your first question for part 1 is, why is using simple and compound sentences important? Don't forget, you're going to need your Wit and Wisdom journal, your workbook, and a pen and pencil today. All right, let's get started. Why is using simple and compound sentences important? You know a lot about sentences. You've been writing sentences all year in first grade, but you may not know the difference between a simple sentence and a compound sentence, and that's what we're going to learn today. So what do we already know about sentences? You know a lot. Here's an example of a simple sentence that you might have seen in your stories. Cinderella lost her slipper at the ball. I have a list here of the things that you need to write a complete sentence. You need a noun, so you need a person, place, or thing, and we know that this sentence is about Cinderella. You need a verb or an action word, something that the person or thing is doing. So Cinderella lost, there's your verb. You need a capital letter and you need a punctuation mark. You also need a complete thought. This sentence has a who and it has a what, so we know it's a complete thought. Well, this would be a simple sentence. It has a who and a what and not really much else. But now we can think about a different kind of sentence. Now that we know how to write simple sentences, we can make our writing even better and start to include some compound sentences. Let's look at the two different types. Here is a simple sentence. My favorite food is pizza. It has a who and a what. The my person is talking, and they're talking about the pizza. And this is a simple sentence. Now, I could now write a compound sentence. Here's an example of a compound sentence. My favorite foods are pizza, pancakes, and apples. Do you see that this sentence tells a little bit more? I also see that it has commas and it has the word and. We call this a conjunction. Well, when I look at that simple sentence, it's a good sentence. I could have written 2 more simple sentences. I could have said, my favorite food is pizza. My favorite food is pancakes. My favorite food is apples. But that would be a little bit boring, don't you think? So in order to make my sentence more interesting, I'm going to put them all together into one compound sentence. My favorite foods are pizza, pancakes, and apples. Now you see, when I made a list in my sentence, pizza, pancakes, apples, we call that a series. And you need commas to separate your words in a series so that you know to pause. You need to separate your 3 things out. Pizza, pancakes, and apples. And you also need that word and to help bring your sentence all together. And is a type of conjunction. You see some puzzle pieces here because that's what I like to think about the words that are conjunctions, because they kind of act like a puzzle piece and they bring 2 sentences, or even 3 in this case, together. So I could use words like because, but, when, and, so, and then to bring my sentences together. Well, the word and is the word I chose to use in this compound sentence. Let's look at some more sentences. These sentences all came from your story, The Cinderella, the original version. Here's sentence number 1. The prince chased the girl. This is a simple sentence because we know it's just about a prince and what the prince did. Sentence 2. The prince wanted to marry her. Another simple sentence because it's just about what the prince wanted to do. He wanted to marry her. The prince did not know who she was. Another simple sentence. Oh, but look at this sentence. The prince chased the girl and she lost her slipper. This is a compound sentence. Now, we made two simple sentences and we put them together. We could have just said, the prince chased the girl, period. She lost her slipper, period. But we know as writers, we want to make it a little bit more interesting. So we chose to put them together by putting a comma and then a conjunction. And is the conjunction that we chose. It's one of those puzzle piece words. Let's look at another one. The prince wanted to marry her, but she had not told him her name. This is another compound sentence. I could have said, the prince wanted to marry her, period, end of sentence. She had not told him her name, period, end of sentence. I could have just written two simple sentences, but I want to make my writing more interesting. So I used a comma and a conjunction to bring two simple sentences together to make it even more interesting. Now we're going to look at two paragraphs. We're going to decide which one is the most interesting and which one is kind of boring. Let's listen to paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 says, the prince chased her. The prince wanted to marry the girl. The prince did not know who she was. Okay, now let's look at paragraph 2. The prince chased her. He wanted to find her, but she had not told him her name. Which one do you think is more interesting? Paragraph 1 or paragraph 2? I bet you said paragraph 2, didn't you? Paragraph 1 starts every single simple sentence the same. There are 3 simple sentences, and they all start the same. The prince chased her. The prince wanted to marry the girl. The prince did not know who she was. But in this paragraph, the writer chose to use a compound sentence in here. The prince chased her. He wanted to find her, but she had not told him her name. You see, there's a comma and a conjunction. That made it so much more interesting. So we're going to try that in part 2. We're going to try using some commas and some conjunctions to bring some simple sentences together to make one compound sentence. I know you can do it. Go ahead and take your brain break.